In the previous two lectures, we discussed about the response spectrum method of analysis and tried to explain to you how the response spectrum method of analysis is developed from the principles of the normal mode theory, the equivalent static loads which are calculated in each mode of vibration, how they are developed. Then we solved a problem for single point excitation system to illustrate the method of analysis for a single point excitation system. At the end we started the extension of the method for obtaining the response spectrum method of or applying the response spectrum method of analysis for multi support excitation system. In that we started saying about the assumptions that are additionally used for extending the response spectrum method of analysis for multi support excitation. Those assumptions are the assumptions that the future earthquake is represented by an averaged smooth response spectrum and a power spectral density function that is obtained from an ensemble of time histories. Then lack of correlation between ground motions at 2 points, that is at the two different supports where the excitations are caused due to earthquake, is represented by a coherence function. Many expressions for the coherence functions were discussed in seismic input. One can choose any one of those coherence functions. The third assumption is the most important assumption, that is the peak factor in each mode of vibration and the peak factor for the total responses are assumed to be the same. We have come across the term peak factor in relation to the seismic inputs for structures for the case of random ground excitation. The peak factor is a factor which is multiplied with the standard deviation or the RMS value of the ground motion in order to obtain the peak value of the ground motion. Better, it is called expected peak value of the ground motion. Then expression for that was given in seismic input. So, in each mode of vibration similarly, if we wish to find out the peak value of the response, then one should multiply a peak factor with the standard deviation of the response for the response for that mode of vibration. This peak factor is obtained from the power spectral density function of the response in that mode. Once we get the power spectral density functions for the responses in different modes of vibration, from that one can calculate not only the standard deviation of the modal response, but also the peak factors associated with that. Multiplying the peak factors with the standard deviation of the response, one can get the peak value of the response. Thus, the peak factors are involved in each mode of vibration. There is also a peak factor for the total response in the structural coordinate system. This assumption means that all the peak factors in different modes of vibration, the peak factor which is associated with the total response of the system, all of them are assumed to be the same. Therefore, if we find out the peak factor for any mode of vibration, then that peak factor can be utilized throughout the analysis. Next, what is required is a relationship between the ground displacement spectrum and the power spectral density function of response. This relationship is required because we wish to find out also the power spectral density function of the ground motion from the specified response spectrum. That is necessary for obtaining the coherence function, the cross power spectral density function between the two responses which are required in the derivation of this particular analysis. Mean peak value of any response quantity R consists of two portions. First part is the pseudostatic response due to the displacements of the support. The second part is the dynamic response of the structure with respect to supports. The first part is obtained by applying unit displacement at each support successively, finding out the responses to non-support degrees of freedom. So, that gives the pseudostatic response due to the displacements of the support. There are some coefficients, and these coefficients are stored in the program, so that this coefficient later on can be multiplied with the ground displacements that is taking place at different supports. The second part straightaway comes from the response analysis of the structure or the dynamic response analysis of the structure with respect to the support. Now, using normal mode theory, the uncoupled dynamic equation of motion for each mode of vibration can be written by equations like equation 5.18, where we have the ith modal equation providing the ith generalized displacement Z I. There is a term beta k I which is the mode participation factor. This we discussed previously when we were solving the problem in time domain. There you have seen that if it is a case of multi-support excitation, then there is not an unique value of the mode participation factor like single point excitation system, but the mode participation factor in a particular mode is associated also with the support. So, for the kth support excitation, there is a mode participation factor in the ith mode, that is called beta k I, and that is given by phi I t m r k divided by phi I t m phi I. R k is the column vector or the kth column vector of the R matrix, that is the influence coefficient matrix that we multiply with the mass matrix, then multiply it with x double dot g to find out the earthquake force, or in other words, for multi-degree freedom system with multi-support excitation, on the right hand side we write minus m r then x double dot g. So, R k is the kth column of that R matrix. If the response of the single degree freedom oscillator to a specific excitation for a particular support is u double dot k, for that if the response is z bar k I, then one can write down the response or generalized response in the ith mode is equal to the summation of beta k I multiplied by z bar k I, because z bar k I is the response in the ith mode produced due to the kth support excitation. So, if we sum up for all the support excitation, then we get the value of the Z I in a particular mode of vibration. So, this Z I is the dynamic response of the system with respect to the support. The total response is given by the equation 5.21, where the response R t is given by this equation, that is A k into U k t summation over the supports, and then this is the phi bar I z I t, that is the mode shape coefficient corresponding to the response quantity of interest. So, this response quantity of interest need not be displacement, could be bending moment, shear force or any other quantity of interest. So, the phi bar I k will be the mode shape coefficient for that response. Then we multiply that coefficient with z I t and sum it over all the modes. So, that gives the response of that particular response of the system, and that is the dynamic response with respect to the support. This part is the pseudostatic response part, and as I explained before, this A k coefficient, that is the responses that is obtained at the non-support degrees of freedom due to unit displacement applied at each support, that is stored, and that is the coefficient A k. So, that A k is multiplied by the ground motion U k to get the pseudostatic component of the response at all non-support degrees of freedom. This A k coefficient could be also obtained for any response quantity of interest. If this R t is a response other than the displacement, then we use those values of A k which we have obtained for the response quantity of interest. Substituting z I t from this equation, we obtain finally equation 5.22, and this 5.22 equation can be written in a compact form in matrix notation, that is R t becomes equal to A t U t plus phi b t z bar t, where phi v z bar are vectors of size m into s. Say the number of support is 3 and the number of modes that we consider is 2. In that case, the phi b vector would typically look like this, that is the phi bar 1 beta 1 1, phi bar 1 beta 2 1, phi bar 1 beta 3 1. So, these beta 1 1, beta 2 1 and beta 3 1 are the mode participation factors coming from the 3 modes for mode 1. Then we have phi bar 2 beta 1 2, phi bar 2 beta 2 2 and phi bar 2 beta 3 2. They are the again the mode participation factors coming from supports 1, 2 and 3 for the second mode. Similarly, the z vector consists of z bar 1 1, z bar 2 1 and z bar 3 1, that is the responses coming from the support 1 to mode 1. The z bar 2 1 indicates the response that is coming from the second support to mode 1. Z bar 3 similarly is the response that is coming to the mode 1 from support 3. The last 3 terms, that is z bar 1 2, z bar 2 2 and z bar 3 2, they are similarly the responses, the modal responses that is coming for the second mode from the 3 supports. Then we assume that R t, U t and z bar t to be random processes. the PSDF of RT then is given by equation 5.25, and this equation is shown over here. The reason for assuming RT, UT and Z bar T to be random process is that the excitation is an excitation which is assumed to be a an excitation coming from an ensemble of time history of records. That ensemble of time history of record is characterized by a stationary random process as well as a smooth response spectrum is obtained for that ensemble time history of records. And therefore, we could relate the response spectrum of displacement with the power spectral density function of the ground acceleration, and a relationship of that type was shown previously, and that relationship is used to obtain the power spectral density function of the ground acceleration from a given response spectrum of displacement. So, once we assume that RT, UT and Z bar T are the quantities which are random quantities or random processes, then one can write down straight away the power spectral density function of the response by this equation, and the basis of this equation has been discussed before while discussing the spectral analysis of response for a specified for a specified power spectral density function of ground excitation. Phi AT ACU A, that comes from the first part of the equation, that is AT UT. The second part phi BT SZ bar Z bar phi beta, that is coming from the second part of the equation, and these two parts are the cross terms, that is the cross power spectral density function that exists between U and Z bar and Z bar and U. So, once we have this expression for SRR, then one can perform an integration of these power spectral density functions. After we integrate these power spectral density function, then one can get the standard deviation of these quantities. Those standard deviations are multiplied by the peak factor in order to get the mean peak values of the responses, and from that mean peak value of the responses one can get the mean peak value of the response quantity of interest. So, once we do that, then the expected maximum value of the response quantity of interest, that is E max RT, that can be written finally in this form: BT LU B plus BT LU Z bar phi BD plus phi T BD L Z Z bar phi BD plus phi T BD L Z bar U B, where B and phi BD are the vectors like this, that is B vector is equal to A1 into UP1, A2 into UP2 and so on. So, if there are S number of S supports, then it will go up to AS into UPS. Phi T beta D is given by this expression, phi bar 1 beta 1 1 multiplied by D 1 1, then phi bar 1 beta 2 1 D 2 1, and that is how it goes up to phi bar 1, beta S1, ds1. Then for the last series of terms will be phi bar m, beta 1 1, d1 m, and the last term of the series will be phi bar m, beta S1 multiplied by dsm. Now, let me explain the terms of this Bt and phi t Bt. A1, A2, A3 are the coefficients of the response or the pseudostatic coefficient of the response quantity that we have discussed before. UP1 is the peak ground displacement for the support excitation 1. UP2 is the peak ground displacement corresponding to support excitation 2, and so on. In these expression, phi bar 1 represents the first mode shape coefficient for the response quantity of interest that we can obtain or that we have discussed before also. Beta 1 1 is the mode participation factor that is coming from the support 1 to mode 1. D11 is the displacement response spectrum ordinate corresponding to the first time period and the first support excitation. That is, we are assuming that the response spectrums at support 1, support 2, support 3 and so on, these response spectrums as if are different. Then D11 represents the response spectrum ordinate for time period for the first mode and for the response spectrum that we have obtained or that is given for the support excitation 1. So, similarly, beta 2 1 is the mode participation factor that is coming to the first mode from the second support, and D21 is the displacement response spectrum for the first first mode time period coming from the support excitation 2. So, that way these terms basically can be easily explained and can be known, that is again for example, phi bar 1 here is the mode shape coefficient for the response quantity of interest in the first mode, and beta S1 represents the mode participation factor which is coming to the mode 1 coming from support S, and DS1 represents the displacement response spectrum ordinate for the time period for mode 1 coming from the support excitation at S. And that is how we are writing Dij, and this Dij means that the response spectrum ordinate coming to the or corresponding to the time period j and its contribution coming from the support I. If we assume that Dij, that is the support excitations for all the supports, have the same power spectral density function and they have the same response spectrum or displacement response spectrum, then Dij simply becomes equal to Di omega j xi j, which means that for a given response spectrum which will be remain constant for all the supports, for that the response spectrum ordinate corresponding to the time period, which will be the 2 pi by omega j, and for the damping ratio xi j. So, for that we take the displaced response spectrum ordinate, and thus D11, D21, DS1, D1m, etc., all of them they basically become simplified, and we have for each mode we have a one particular value of the displacement response spectrum ordinate. The elements of the correlation matrices LU, LU z bar and LZZ bar are given in equations 5.28, 5.29 and 5.30. Ui Uj are the elements of LU matrix, and it equal to 1 by sigma Ui into sigma Uj, and integration of the SUI Uj d omega, in which sigma Ui is the standard deviation of the displacement or ground displacement at support I, and sigma Uj is the standard deviation of the ground displacement at support j. SUI Uj is the cross power spectral density function between the ground displacement at support I and support j. LUI Z bar Kj are the elements of LU Z bar matrix, and they are equal to 1 by sigma Ui into sigma Z bar Kj, in which sigma Ui is the standard deviation of the ground displacement at the ith support, and the sigma Z bar Kj is the generalized or standard deviation of the generalized displacement for mode j coming from support k, that is this Z bar is obtained for the jth mode using beta kj, that is the mode participation factor beta kj that we had obtained before, that is equation 5.19. Then the within the integration we have Hj star, which is the complex conjugate of the frequency response function for the jth mode, and SUI Z bar SUI U double dot k, that is equal to the cross power spectral density function between the displacement at the ith support and the acceleration at the kth support. The L Z bar Ki, Z bar Lj, they are the elements of L Z bar matrix and are equal to 1 by sigma Z bar Ki into sigma Z bar Lj, where sigma Z bar Ki is the standard deviation of the generalized displacement for the ith mode and the kth support, that is which is obtained using beta ki. Similarly, sigma Z bar Lj is the standard deviation of the generalized displacement for the jth mode from the Lth support. Within the integration we have Hi Hj star. Hi is a complex frequency response function for the ith mode. Hj is the the complex conjugate of the frequency response function for the jth mode, and S u bar k l and u double dot k and u double dot l, they are the cross power spectral density function between the accelerations at the kth support and the lth support. Now, with this equations defined, and after we integrate these equations, the elements of the matrices can be obtained. In those equations, what we have to find out is SU I U k, which is equal to 1 by omega square SU I to the power half, SU k to the power half, and coherence function I k, that is it takes care of the partial correlation between the ground displacements at the ith support and the kth support. Since the power spectral density function of the ground displacements for all the supports are the same, therefore, S u I to the power half, S u k to the power half, the multiplication of these two turns out to be S u double dot g, that is the power spectral density, S u g, that is the power spectral density of the ground specified ground displacement. Then we have S u I u double dot S u I u j, that is equal to 1 by omega to the power 4 into S u I to the power half, S u j to the power half multiplied by coherence function I comma j, and which again turns out to be equal to coherence I j divided by omega to the power 4 into S u double dot g. I am sorry, in the previous equation it was S u I u double dot k. So, that is given as coherence I k divided by omega square into S u double dot g. And finally, we have S u double dot k and S u double dot l, that turns out to be simply coherence k l multiplied by S u double dot g. So, in terms of S u double dot g and a coherence function defined to take care of the partial correlation between the ground motions, one can obtain these terms S u I, S u I u double dot k, S u I u j and S u double dot k u double dot l. Now, for a single train of seismic wave, d I j becomes simply the value of the displacement response spectrum for the earthquake, which is given in this equation 5.27 c. There d I j is equal to becomes equal to d I omega I xi I for the single train of earthquake, that is it has a unique displacement spectrum, and S u double dot g can be obtained from the specified displacement spectrum from the relationship that we have discussed before. So, for a given displacement spectrum of an earthquake and an additionally specified coherence function to take care of the partial correlation between the ground motions, one can now obtain all the terms necessary to calculate the mean peak value of the response of the system. Thus, for a multi support excitation case, one can find out the values of the expected peak value of the responses using the same response spectrum method of analysis. Only thing that is required over here is that in addition to defining the displacement response function, we have to define a coherence function and a relationship that will equate the acceleration power spectral density function in terms of the displacement response spectrum of the earthquake. Now, if only the relative peak displacement is required, then the third term of equation 5.26 that is required. We the third term only gives the relative displacement, but if we take all the terms in equation 5.26, then this will give the absolute displacement. The steps for obtaining the response spectrum method of response spectrum analysis for multi-support excitation using MATLAB is given in the book. In the MATLAB, one can develop the method that is described over here. The first step would be to obtain a matrix R which is constructed as we have discussed before. Then from the R matrix one can take out the RK vector, that is for the kth support, and use it for finding out the mode participation factor for the for the kth support. Then beta ki is that is the beta ki that is obtained, and this beta ki is obtained for all the supports from 1 to S and for all the modes 1 to M. Next phi t beta, phi t bd, they are obtained from the equations, and in obtaining phi t beta d, we require the ordinates of the displacement response spectrum at different modes corresponding to the time periods of those modes. We also require the mode shape coefficient for the response quantity of interest, as well as we require the mode participation factor for a particular mode coming from a particular support. So, all these these quantities are known. So, therefore, phi t beta d and phi t beta can be constructed. Once we have these two vectors, next vector that is required is the A vector, that is the influence coefficient vector which comes from the pseudostatic analysis, and that can be stored for a particular response, the pseudostatic vector, and for the displacement, the pseudostatic vector, they could be different. Next is to construct a vector B, and this vector B we have is shown in expression 5.27. This vector B requires the peak ground displacement at different supports, but this peak ground displacement at different supports are assumed to be the same, because we have the same train of earthquake moving through all the supports. This can be obtained from the specified power spectral density function and for the support excitation, and then converting it to the power spectral density function for displacement. The area under that curve give the standard deviation, and that standard deviation can be multiplied by a peak factor in order to obtain the peak value of the or expected value of the ground displacement. The matrices LU, LU bar, UZ bar and LZZ bar, they require basically the integration of the cross power spectral density function multiplied by the frequency response function for each mode, which was shown in equation 5.28 to 5.30, and in that we had seen that we require also the standard deviation of the generalized displacement in a particular mode for the excitation or the kth excitation or the excitation at the kth support. So, that standard deviation can be obtained by assuming the power spectral density function, or not assuming by obtaining the spectral analysis for the specified power spectral density function of the ground motion, and from that one can get the power spectral density function of the generalized displacement. The area under the curve will give the standard deviation. The cross power spectral density function that is required between the displacement at one support with the acceleration at the other support, the cross power spectral density function between the displacements at two supports and the cross power spectral density function between the acceleration at two supports, which are required in those integrations. They are obtained again by a set of equation which can be finally represented in the form of a coherence function and the specified power spectral density function of the ground acceleration. Coherence function is additionally provided for this problem. So, one can develop a program easily in the MATLAB for finding out the response or the mean peak response for systems having multi support excitation and subjected to a set of ground motions which can be represented with the help of an averaged response spectrum, which can be again converted to a ground acceleration of spectrum through an empirical relationship. We illustrate the method with the help of a problem. This is a problem, if we recall, is a problem for a 3 support frame, that is example 3.8. We had a 2-story frame with 3 supports. The non-support degrees of freedom are 2, and therefore, the mode shapes are 2 by 2 mode shape matrix. And since we are wanting to find out the expected peak value of the displacements, then phi bar also becomes the same matrix. The R matrix for the multi support excitation case was computed before for this problem, and R is given by this matrix. The 3 frequencies are 2 frequencies are omega 1 and omega 2. So, they are also given. AT, that is the pseudostatic coefficients at the non-support degrees of freedom coming from all the 3 excitations. They are same as R. Therefore, AT is same as R. This is the phi t beta matrix, and the phi t beta matrix will have these sets of, this is the first set, phi bar 1 1 beta 1 1, phi bar 1 1 beta 2 1, phi bar 1 1 beta 3 1. all these things I have been explained before, and phi bar 1 2, phi bar 2 2 or beta 2 1, beta 1 2 etc. They can be all obtained. The phi t beta d matrix that is computed over here. So, it requires as I told you before, the ordinates of the response displacement response spectrum, then phi terms and the terms for the mode participation factor for a particular mode. The displacement response spectrum, which is assumed to be the same for all the three supports, because it is the same train of earthquake that is passing through all the three supports, that is obtained for the time periods corresponding to these two frequencies, and they are 0.056 and 0.011. Coherence function or coherence matrix can be obtained easily. These will not be 0, this will be 1 1 1, and rho 1 and rho 2 will be minus 5 omega by 2 pi and minus 10 omega by 2 pi, because it is assumed that there is a 5-second time lag between the supports. So, between the first support and the second support, this is the this will be the value of rho 1. We have computed it also before also, and for first support and the third support, the rho 2 value will be equal to minus 10 omega 2 pi. So, plugging in the values of rho 1, rho 2 etc. in this coherence matrix, we get the complete coherence matrix. LUU, LU bar, UZ bar matrix, they are again computed, that is that integrations were performed, and we finally obtained each of these elements of those matrices and constructed this matrix LUU. Similarly, the matrix LUZ bar that was constructed, and LZZ bar matrix also was constructed. With the help of these matrices, finally we obtained the mean peak values of the displacements, that is for the displacement 1, the mean peak value was obtained as 0.106, and for the second non-support degree of freedom, it was 0.099 meter. When we obtain the relative displacement for the response 1, then the relative displacement mean peak value of the relative displacement came out to be 0.045, and for the second non-support degree of freedom, the mean peak value of the displacement came as 0.022. Note that we can obtain both the mean peak values of the total response and the mean peak value of the relative displacement. The mean peak value of the total displacement means the relative displacement plus the pseudostatic component, they are taken together, and for that we obtain the mean peak values, and the relative displacements, they come purely from the modal displacement z bar multiplied by the mode shape factor. The general expression that we had shown in the development of the method, they are, if we retain only the this term, then we get the, if we retain only the third term and ignore all other terms, then we get the straight away the relative displacements or the mean peak values of the relative displacements. So, that is what was done over here to get the value of the or mean peak value of the relative displacements. We also solve the problem assuming that the ground motions are perfectly correlated. In that case, IUU, I Z bar and I, U, Z bar, they take this particular form. Using those, we obtain the values of the mean peak relative displacement by response spectrum method of analysis for U1 and U2. They turn out to be like this. For the time history analysis for the same problem and for the same El Centro earthquake record, for which the power spectral density function and the corresponding displacement response spectrum were used, that gave us a values which are 0.081 and 0.041, and we can see that these two values match quite well. Thus, in spite of the different assumptions that have been considered in the development of the response spectrum method of analysis for multi-support excitation case, we see that the results that we obtain from the response spectrum method of analysis compare quite well with the time history analysis. We explain the same method with the help of another example, and in that, if you recall, we solved a problem which was a beam problem resting on 3 spring supports. That is the problem. This problem, this was a beam which is resting on a soil. Soil is replaced by the spring and dashboards. This has a spring constant Ks, Ks and Ks, and the damping constants are Cs for the soil. The structural damping for the structure is taken as 5%. These are the masses which are lumped at the 3 degrees of freedom. Translations are the 3 degrees of freedom. Rotation is condensed out. There is a time lag which is assumed between the supports. That time lag is 2.5 second. Cs value is given as 0.6 meter and Ks value is given as 48. This is not meter, m, and this is Ks is equal to 48 m. The structural damping matrix is obtained as C is equal to alpha m plus beta k. The C bar matrix, that is the damping matrix considering the soil damping, that turns out to be this. Note that once we add the soil damping to the structural damping, the damping becomes a non-classical damping. So, this problem is a problem of non-classical damping. Therefore, to use the response spectrum method of analysis for this becomes really difficult. However, by making an approximation, that is by diagonalizing the damping matrix, that is the modal damping matrix, or in other words phi t c bar phi. For that, the off diagonal terms are ignored, and with the help of that we solve the same or this problem and obtain the responses.